Oh, don't worry.
Okay, sorry.
I talk about Devin a lot also, so.
So now we're streaming.
Morning,
Whatever,
everybody.
Dave.
And we're streaming as well.
Yep, we are.
Okay, I guess we'll call this meeting to order. Before we adopt agenda, I'd like to say welcome to Ryan, our new and youngest member. Good to see some young people getting involved in this, so that's great. And Linda's back. That's nice to see. So with that, I guess, is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? If not, I could ask for a motion to have it accepted as presented.
I can do that.
Great. Any discussion? If not, I'll call a question. All in favor? It's carried.
In
In
favor?
favor.
So, yeah, I gotta get used to this, guys. I'll have to remember that you're up there. Just jump in if I'm ignoring you. So could we have, is anybody opposed to or find anything wrong in the minutes, or is there anything that needs to be added or deleted?
I'll move the minutes as presented.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
In favor.
Carried. All right, I guess now we'll start into the budget comments, and I'll let Dawn fill us in on some of those, the things that she's.
Okay, so at our last meeting, we talked about the budget, and there were a couple of suggestions that we talked about to add into the budget. So really, the budget has not changed much since you last saw it. There were a few things, once I submitted it to Andrew, he kind of did his magic. And there's a few things that my numbers on the summary are a little bit different than his totals, simply because he doesn't take into account the depreciation and all that stuff, which is included in the summary that you guys have in front of you. So, but what I did add was additional funding for the Gateway Research Organization as well as West Central Forge Association. So that was in the amount of $5,000 each. And I also added in the environmental DNA project funding, so in the amount of $3,000. And then this morning, I actually received a estimate for our contribution for VSI for next year, and it was a bit more than I thought it was going to be, so I added that in this morning. So that was an additional, I think it was 24,000 last year, and our new estimate was 29,500. So I added in those funds into the proposed budget this morning. So you should have in front of you the most current. Jen updated everything this morning very, very, very efficiently. So, but yeah, so the bottom line is we're still going to be under our 1% increase amount, so we're still falling within the recovery plan that council had set out, so we are still good to go. So I don't know if there's anything else that's jumping out at you guys.
Alan,
A question for Dawn, and then a question for the group. Where does that VSI show in? Is it under Ag Service Program somewhere?
Yeah, it's under animal industry, so it would be right at the very
Very
bottom
bottom.
of that one. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So I just want to bring a comment forward, or a scenario, and I'm struggling to find the right route to help these folks, but the Whitecourt District Ag Society has applied twice to the Woodlands Community Services Board for funding for like temporary stalls, so that people that are passing through with horses would have a place to overnight their horses. Personally, I mean, their business plan shows them through cost recovery that, you know, they pay for these things within probably, 5 years. But it doesn't really fall under community services. I brought it up at the Economic Development Committee does not have a grant program. So I think it's a really worthwhile thing. And there's basically what I'm hearing is there's nobody in this area that has facilities for people traveling through. It's a last minute thing, and the expectation wouldn't be that we necessarily include it this year, but I just want to bring it out on the table so that people are aware of it, and get some thoughts to see whether you guys think that's a worthwhile venture, and see if we can help them.
So it's people traveling through, they want to stop off in Whitecourt or whatever and just have an overnighter, like to rest their horses and stuff, is that what you're?
Yeah.
So is rodeo grounds not an option, or?
Well, so that's where they would be, but they're looking at getting, I think it was about, sorry, I don't have the information from me, but I want to say it was 5 or 6 corrals. So they were, and they'd provide feed and water, and there'd be a fee associated with it. And then what the thought is, hey, I'm here. Do I want to go for a ride on the mountain, or do I want to potentially, go through Grove Creek or something like that? So yeah, but that's the what they're after.
Peter, could I say something quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
As far as for what they're doing, given that it's a capital venture at the ag facility, they do have grants available provincially and federally for capital projects. The Ag Society up at in Selma right now, we're looking at redoing the kitchen and stuff in their hall. They've replaced a bunch of stuff in their diamonds. They've replaced a bunch of stuff in their like historically or at their ice plant and stuff, or not ice plant, their ice or rink there and stuff too. And they've done most of that through grant funding. There is grants specifically for capital for our ag societies through the county, and there are also ones through the province. They might want to look at those.
Okay, thanks, Dave. I'll see what they've done. I want to say they have applied for those and been rejected, but I don't know for sure. But sure, I'll follow that up with them.
Go ahead.
The Ag Society here at the fort just had applied for a grant and had got approval with putting panels up around the rodeo grounds, right, Jen?
Yeah. So with that grant, I don't remember what the name of it was, Linda, but that was kind of during COVID.
Yeah, but there
Time.
are other grants
But
that
there
are
are other
available,
things too,
and we
so-
got ours through a grant.
Yeah, so we purchased self-standing panels, and so that we can make corrals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because like we do have a few folks that do come from out of the area that do want to board their horses if they go down to the staging area,
Sure.
and they'll camp at the grounds, but they can board their horses there while they're
Right.
riding.
And is there a fee charge for that?
Oh, we just charge for camping so far.
Okay. Okay.
Al,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I believe Heather Anderson would be the one to reach out to as far as which the grants are. She's the one through the Ag Service Board group out at in Samuel there that we've been dealing with.
Okay. 100%. Thanks, guys. I'll follow up with the group and see where they're at with that.
Cool. Is there anyone else that has anything to?
I have one question on the budget.
Okay.
The building and maintenance, how come that was so much, like, big change in dollar-wise?
You're looking at the 263.12 one?
Building maintenance, which is-
112,000, 184 versus, okay, I gotta figure out how to get this down.
Yeah, and the
So
budget.
that includes depreciation and all that fun stuff.
Okay.
So that is one of the numbers that doesn't necessarily reflect
What you spent.
effectively in our budget.
Okay.
That's one of Andrew's magic things that he does. So
Okay.
It's magic which we don't understand.
beyond me. But yeah, that is That includes depreciation on the buildings as well as any kind of, heating, fuel, power, and such. Like the heating and power is not as much as it's not a significant part of that, it's mostly depreciation.
So is that possibly something that hasn't been included in the past?
That's what I was,
Yes.
it wasn't.
Yeah,
That's why
it
it's-
wasn't necessarily accounted for as much in the past, and so
Okay.
now with our asset management stuff going through, we're tracking all of that a little more, a lot more, I'll be honest, so it's, yeah, it's starting to show up in our budget, but it's not necessarily, like it's more through the county budget, and it's not like it's not like something that we pay out, it's just something we have to account for, basically, so it's kind of weird how it affects our budget, but not really,
I
if that
think-
makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's part of the process that we're involved in right now.
Yeah.
Is that it was important for this council to understand what our actual costs are rather than just carry on with. And so what's going to start to happen is that as we get further into this asset management, we're going to have a better understanding of what we're actually going to have to pay out in the future, and how we establish reserves for that. And so I think this is the first like that we've actually seen a depreciation in any of our budgets. So, you know, it's that step, that process we're taking. I can't remember, Al, but, and maybe Dave and Devin, you can expand on that a little bit, but I think that we're looking at having a fairly comprehensive strategy by 2024 was what council was, where we should be there where we can really start to explain that. Because it takes a long time to put all of that data together.
Yeah, if I could add something. Can you hear me, Peter?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna add, we did add into the budget, possibly, it's not confirmed yet, obviously, the budgets aren't set, but we did add in maybe a second person to kind of speed that up as well. So hopefully, best case scenario, it's earlier than 2024, but that's kind of what we're looking at, yep.
That was our asset manager position
Yeah.
we were discussing.
Okay, so is there anything else that anyone wants to add, or if not, I'll entertain a motion to accept this information.
Sure.
Greg? Any more discussion? If not, I'll call a question. All in favor?
In favor.
In favor?
Great. Okay, I see that Clean Farms is gonna continue being here, so maybe you can report on that,
I was
Dawn.
so excited. I reached out again because I had reached out previously. I reached out again and I said, listen, we are far away from retailers. And so they reviewed more succinctly, I guess you could say. They took a little harder look at it and they realized that yes, we are indeed away, like it's not as convenient for our producers to be taking all of their jugs to, or their pesticide containers to a retailer necessarily. Like, yes, we all go into town, we all do that kind of stuff, but it's just kind of a pain in the butt to have to haul all that stuff into town. So they have decided that we are able to keep our site open indefinitely, and as long as we're following the rules that they've set out, which is what we've been doing all along anyway, since they've changed, like we do have large bags out at the facility out there where they can, where people can put their jugs into the bags, and then we throw them all into a sea can. They're all triple rinsed, all that kind of stuff. So as long as we're still following those rules, they will still come in. And then I just have to be, it's not necessarily that we'll have an automatic pickup every year. I have to arrange for pickup when we're getting full, which is fine. So we will still do that once a year.
Good.
But yes, I was very excited when I got that email back saying that we can remain open indefinitely. So,
Is there a possibility that we can get a rep from Clean Farms to come out to a meeting here and update us on the recycling, the plastic recycling, and what they're doing with with the bags and
Looks like the silage plastic and the
the
grain
size
bags.
plastic grain bags and all that stuff.
I can ask them if they can, yeah.
If, you know, cause
Or
it's,
remotely if they can
yeah, or
join us.
you know, remotely, and it would be interesting for me to see where they're at with some of that stuff, so that, you know, farmers can start to participate in that more. Because,
Is this is just for jugs, though, like pesticide
this is
jugs?
just for jugs, yeah. But they have some pretty good programs, like they've developed some pretty unique ways of getting rid of the bags. And the struggle they were still having, I think, was twine and the wrap, the
Rail wrap.
the net wrap.
Can I
Net wraps, yeah.
speak up there, Peter?
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
I had a long discussion at the Alberta Recyclers their conference there with one of the guys from Clean Farms, and twine they don't have a problem with anymore. The feed bags they definitely don't have any issue with, like your big tote bags and stuff like that. Your silage wrap, I believe they're working on that now. They can't handle the bale wrap though. Yeah, that doesn't go so good to their system. But the rest of it, they do have processes in place where they take it, they cut it down, and they turn it into basically like silica pellets, and then the silica pellets gets sold and reused in a different industry. So it is something I'd like to maybe take a look at for around here.
Yeah, it would be interesting because the more that we can engage farmers in doing that, the less we are visible as a polluter in the system. So it's just the optics as well. Greg, go ahead.
So Dave, you said that they are taking silage plastic?
Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure he said they were, but it's been a couple months now. I was been waiting for this meeting, see if we can get something along where we can get them to come and discuss it with the rest of the group here. But I believe they were taking silage plastic now.
But they don't take it from our landfill, do they? 'Cause
That's the,
when we take a tandem load of silage plastic up to the,
no,
it just goes to the landfill then.
yeah.
Is that right?
And that's exactly where we want to
Yeah,
try
we
to
need to-
figure out how, that's something that maybe a service board can do is, if we know how it has to be collected and we know, we can set up an area for that and we can actually have, farmers engaged in the process, right?
I was told that it had something to do with the cleanliness of it, so
Yeah.
that would be the real question I'd wanna ask, because
Yeah.
if they can take it, if it's like sterile, clean, but if it has any contaminants on it, they couldn't do anything with it, so.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things, Dave went to that conference and that if we have a rep come out, it might be a good idea, because I know that, one of their big challenges was compacting it and transporting it to a recycle place. And, so they actually developed some systems to do that, but they're pretty, questionable. And so, maybe there's a lot of good ideas out in the farming community, so. But anyway, if we could do that, if you do that for us, that would be great, so. Is there anything else, that we want to talk about on that 5.2? If not, I'll make a motion to, accept, the Clean Farms, pesticide collection site report as information. Any more discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried.
In favor.
In favor?
Okay, Don, our ag profile. Had a few challenges there,
We did, yes.
but I think it'll work out okay.
I think it will. So we had our current contractor has taken on a few other things that is kind of squashing her ability to do the complete project. Like getting her team to stay together. Basically, she lost one of the people, so there's a few things going on there. So what we discussed with her was that maybe we can look at having another group or another company, whatever, do the remainder of the article writing, and also maybe presenting the ads going forward. We're not sure how that's going to work yet. So that being said, we had a preliminary meeting with the Express, the Woodlands Express last week. And when we talked to them, well, it was one person.
Right?
And no, actually it wasn't Lorraine, it was Louise.
Louise, okay.
Yes, but only, so next week we're gonna have a meeting with both Lorraine and Louise to see how they feel that they can help us out with that. Because we do wanna keep it local, and Louise was fairly confident that they could do like the rest of the article writing, because we still do have the list. And Carol is 100% willing to share what she's got so far done. And she is also willing to still do all the layout and design for us and the printing of it too. So we can still utilize her services that way, as well as having the Express finish off the project basically, as far as the writing of things. So I think we'll still be good. We've got a pretty good plan going forward. So it's just not gonna be published this year. We're gonna be looking at next year now, so.
Is it possible that you could give us a list of the things that still need to be done as a service board? Maybe there's some things that we can participate in?
I guess I can for sure, but most of it is what we have is like article writing.
Yeah.
So that's mostly what it is. And like, we still would need your, like as a chairperson, your input. As we'll
Okay.
do a welcome from the chairman, from you as well as from our,
Well,
Brief.
yeah, I think it should be, for me, it would be a reflection of what the service board, as a board, wants to say.
yeah,
Like what are the things that you would like to have? I mean, obviously I have to put my signature underneath there, but
yes.
I would like to have the input of the
Well, for
board.
sure, yeah.
So-
And we're not there yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
fair
still working on getting those articles done and getting the whole, we need to hammer down the project again, basically. So,
Okay.
yeah, we can do that. We can certainly discuss that at the board level when we're getting to that point,
Okay.
for sure.
Al?
So as I understand the process is, once the articles have been written and you have something that you can then send to Carol, she'll put it together.
Yeah,
How far through that interview process, writing process, is it half done?
I would say quarter,
Okay.
yeah,
So then
yeah. There
the
are a
ladies
few
from the
articles.
Express would just go out and
Yeah.
finish that off.
And so when we were talking to Louise, she actually, like some of the articles, they've already done some research on because that topic has appeared in the Express in the
Sure,
past.
yeah.
So it'd be just a matter of maybe updating some of that. They've got the contacts already and everything like that. So it'd be just a matter of updating everything and
Yeah.
with them. So that's why we think it's probably not gonna be as big of a transition as it may seem, because they've done a lot of that. And because they've also been in the community for a long time, they've got a lot of those contacts. So I think it'll be good.
Al?
So just as a follow-up to that, like when we were discussing this project, one of the questions that came up was, how are we gonna distribute it? Where is it gonna go? I think that if one of our primary objectives is to raise awareness, that we still need to look at social media. And I mean, that's a tough thing because they have those algorithms and not everybody that you want to go to gets it. But it would be nice if these profiles would regularly appear on, the Facebook page and the website. And maybe you start to attract a following that way. So, we're gonna have, how many? Is there gonna be 10 or 12 profiles in this publication?
In this publication, I think we've got like 20 articles.
Nice.
Different
Sure.
things, it's different aspects. It's not necessarily a profile of each producer, but it's like maybe it's an article on forage production or something
Sure.
like that.
Mhm.
So it's more of a not necessarily a profile, but topic related.
So,
Yeah.
would there be any appetite to having those topics, we'll call them those 20 topics, be distributed on individually, you know, say once a month or
Oh, yeah,
twice a month?
because we'll have full control of it digitally as well, so we can do whatever we want with
Sure,
it
yeah.
afterwards. Yeah, so, yeah, that's something we can set up with our communications department and just pop them out every now and then. I know our communications coordinator would love to have stuff that he can do well in advance.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah,
would
yeah.
be able to set all that up for us easily. Yeah, because like I said, we have full control of the product digitally
Okay.
afterwards too, so, yeah.
Well, personally, I'd like to see this kind of almost remain on the agenda and get an update of, you know, what we're doing
Absolutely, yeah.
next. And again, what I recall, the reason behind this was we wanted to get the message out to the non-ag folks what's happening in this world. And, you know, how do we know that our target audience is actually ever going to pick that book up? But social media is a little more pervasive, and you might end up getting it to places that book can't.
I absolutely agree with you on the, you know, it's not that we want to preach to the confirmed. A lot of us already understand some of those things. So I guess what you're asking is how do we get it into the greater population so they understand who we are and
Yeah.
what we're doing.
Yeah.
No, and I agree with that as well. So we'll keep that on the agenda then?
for
Is
sure.
that kind of the,
I have a quick question, Peter.
yeah, go ahead.
So, before it was gonna get paid by advertising, but now we're gonna need, so is there money in the budget for this? There is.
Yeah, so, our economic development officer has put in, funding in economic development for profile development, so it's not just ag services, or the ag profile. There's like the 4 different pillars that we have.
Yep.
But so this year, the concentration will be on the agriculture, and then that money will be carried, like it'll be in the budget going forward to do other profiles. And then also from the ag services side, we've put in money as well, so
Okay.
not as much as economic development, but we still have, between the two groups, we've got, or between the two departments, we've got some money set aside there, so. And then we may still get some ad revenue, depending, but it's not gonna be funded by the revenue, or the ad revenue as much, so.
I think once you seed something like this, then if the people who are in the profile see value in putting advertisements in, or other people see that value, then hopefully that's where this will go. And what Don said about it, Bert had put in for 4 profiles, and at this point in time, we really don't have anything else. Al and I sit on the Economic Development Committee as well, and there's been discussion about, you know, increasing the profile of businesses within our county, but there hasn't really been a strategy as to how to do that. So most of that funding at this point in time would be at the only project that we have. So, okay.
And another part of this project, if we're, we kind of discussed loosely with the Express, is adding to our business profile, like our business directory, I guess you could
Yeah.
say. So getting that built up too, because right now our business directory is not that strong.
Strong.
Yeah, so,
Just kind of jumping in here, I don't know anything about the past, but as far as the old contractor, like, did we pay her, or
no, we had.
do we owe her for her work, or?
So that will be part of the payment afterwards, like once she's done the display and layout. Right now, she is actually not willing to accept any funds.
Okay.
We've offered, and she said, no, I don't feel that I've fulfilled that contract at all. I don't feel that I deserve that, so. Because she was actually going to be paid off of the ad revenue that they were going to get. And so, that ad revenue has, I don't even know how much not very much. I think it was like $700 or something like that, so.
Well, and she was
So-
very, very invested in this, and
She
she was
was.
so disappointed when she couldn't.
Yes,
She
she
couldn't
was.
complete that project,
Yeah.
And, you know, it's, you know, kudos to her for saying, you know, what she, you know, has approached it the way she has, so.
Yeah, she was just sinking, basically. She didn't wanna let us down, and she was it was a
It's a good project.
very heartfelt conversation that we had with her, so she really, really, really wants to help us out as much as possible with this, so.
Okay, any more discussion then? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Linda? To accept that as information, so, any more discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor?
So who made that motion?
In favor.
In favor?
Just need to.
Thanks,
that's what's
Kerry.
the motion.
Now we will move on to the weigh scale. Good information. Oh, I'm sorry, Al.
Just point of order that the motion, we need,
For, okay,
whoever makes the motion needs to actually state the motion.
okay.
We got our fingers wrapped because we weren't doing things
Yeah.
properly, so.
Accepted as information.
Okay. Did you guys all have a look at the different options that were available for weigh scales and? It's interesting, it ended up being about, what, $165,000 would have been the final figure.
Roughly, yes.
Roughly,
Yes.
and I would suggest that would probably be in the $200,000 range by the time, you know, if you look at all the different things that, but that was for a full standard one.
Right.
I didn't see in there, the similar ones that they have on highways as self-weighs. That's the only one I didn't see. I seen the little axle ones that the DOT guys uses.
Oh, I thought he gave us the.
There were
didn't
three
see them.
there, three temporary ones.
Yeah, yeah. They were the temporary ones, but there weren't just the single axle scales, which, you know, are what they use in the self-weighs, where you just pull the different axle sets on.
So those three there that are, I'm not sure what page this is. But it has portable wheel pad scales, portable twin bridge axle scale, and
Yeah.
portable full axle scale. None of those.
That's on page 24.
Yeah, those aren't, like, they had the various axle scales, but they didn't show, you know, the typical ones that are,
Like the one out east to west lock there. That's
Yeah,
the,
exactly.
That's the other stuff. They're
Yeah.
permanent, but they're still like an axle weight scale, but it'll weigh multiple axles at the same time. Like you do your front axle, your
Yep.
drive axles, your trailer axles, that kind of style. Because I believe they're a lot more cost effective.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And I don't know if Accurate may just not deal with those. I don't know if there is other companies out there that do those things that maybe we could find out.
'Cause, yeah, like the full length scales definitely have their pros and cons. I would say like oversized loads wouldn't be able to use them with if they're longer than 90 feet. But they can also use that as like an axle weight scale as well. But the room implications for the long one, I would see that maybe being a problem for us versus the smaller one. I think we could maybe find a spot for one like that.
So one thing in my conversation with this gentleman from Accurate was that those axle weight scales are not for tender. So they're not for legal trade. You cannot say, I have this many pounds of whatever or ton or whatever, and you cannot sell based on that legally. So that was one thing that he mentioned that I was not aware of, so.
I did see that, Don, but as he talked about the ones that are in this RFD, just because I didn't see the other style ones that, like by Westlock, I use that one, for example, because I go by there a lot.
I think that one even isn't for
It
bilingual.
says right there up the scale that you can't.
It's not for legal
Not for
tender.
legal tender.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess that's the question that we would have to answer here, is it just to give us a ballpark, or is it for, or do we want to extend ourselves into that?
Right.
Just I want a quick update, what is the purpose of it, just for farmers to not be overweight when they are?
Yeah,
That's the purpose,
I think farmers in some industry as well.
but just for them to know. It's-
Yeah,
A lot of guys sell hay, or sell whatever, or even selling cattle, if it's not for legal.
gives you a ballpark.
Yeah, Greg, what do you think of that? Like somebody in the farming industry, most of it is probably for reference anyways, because you measure or you weigh 3 bales or whatever, and you kind of got an approximate of what all your bales are going to be versus having one for legal tender. Is there much benefit in that?
Speaking for myself, yes, there is benefit, but I'm just one farmer.
But they're only within 100 kgs, aren't they, anyways?
Yeah, I don't know.
So a lot of the products that you're gonna be selling, like 100 kgs is a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, personally, it doesn't make sense to have just a little axle scale that, and as far as the room to put a bigger scale, well, like if you're gonna weigh like a high boy or whatever, you're gonna need the room to get on there, even if it's just an axle scales too.
Yeah, that's true.
So has anyone ever thought of the idea of like trying to partner with somebody that already has a good scale? Like that's what I do, but
Yeah, well, that's what we do now is we bought gravel from the guys down that used to have Schulte's Pit. I'm not
Yeah.
sure what their name is. but anyway.
Cosgrove, I think.
And
Cross-
that
Crosswalk,
idea was brought up to go and see them to see if they would be able to weigh, because now we have to, like when I sell cattle, if I sell FOB the farm, I got to go to Barhead to weigh them on either at Schmidt's or at the seed cleaning plant. So it's, yeah, personally, would be very useful. And I'm not the only one. I know a lot of other farmers have brought this up to me as well. But it's a lot of money.
The problem with partnering with, like gravel is a really easy industry to target, but most of them do loader scales now. That's the downside with trying to find somebody. It seems like most of them are going to that versus actual scale on site.
Well, and I think that when you look at the dollars, and this is just, I'm spitballing this, but when you look at the dollars of this and who it is going to benefit, there's, if we have enough interest in the farming community over here, for example, there's a possibility that the county can debenture that and tack it into a local improvement tax over 10 or 15 years, because it's a long-term investment. And the farming community has a toll or something that they pay that's worthwhile. Like there's a number of ways we can look at this where it'll fit within the budget constraints that we have currently. So, I think what we need to do is understand that this is the beginning of the discussion. And I see down at 6.2, we're going to try to do a survey of the farming community and just to see what kind of interest there is in that, and that'll give us a little bit more direction.
I got one more concern about it, I guess, is just, as far as the future, like, it sounds like everybody around here really wants it, and it would probably, like, you guys have a problem, you don't have one close. But us farmers back at Whitecourt, we're not gonna drive to Fort Assiniboine to weigh, so is there, a thought in the fact that there maybe needs to be 2 or 1, or, that's my only concern, kind of.
I think that's
It's a big county.
It's a great question, and I think that, it's just like our Ag Service Board equipment. We try to, make sure that both sides are served equally, and I think that, you know, when we go through this process, we'll figure out, you know, how to do it. And, you know, at least,
I-
find out whether we're going to or we're not going to, right? So, no, good question.
I think something with that is, I don't know for sure, but are there multiple scales in Whitecourt? Like, is that something we could pursue doing, an agreement as a county that, you know, Woodlands County residents can use a scale or a user fee or something like that as well? Just because if there's 3 or 4 scales in Whitecourt, to build another one, it seems a little redundant versus out here, there's nothing within, you know, half an hour this end of the county or better, right? Like that, that's kind of the things we could look at too.
Yeah, I think that's you know, that'll, maybe we can entertain that in 6.2 as to how we set up the survey. But good discussion.
So there is that, the manned weigh scale north of Whitecourt there, right? On 143.
I
How does that
I
work?
weigh at Can for Miller Western. I got a deal where I just keep my head down and they don't care.
And
I'm just-
So we used to be here when
Yeah.
Tim, you had
Tim,
Bill.
Most
Yeah.
people have a deal with Jesperson's, the feed
Okay.
yard on Range Road 100. Like most people I know have a deal with him, because it costs a fortune to keep them updated every year. And those load cells have a terrible life. Like they only last, some of them only last 6 months and they burn out and then they're working on them again. So it costs him a small fortune to keep his going, so he likes it when people come there and give him some cash to weigh.
Well, and that, you know, maybe that's a possibility is we can, you know, enter into agreement with them to, you know, have a fee for service or whatever so that it's, so that's beneficial for them. And that's, you know, a good way to include the industry in the game. So if there's no more discussion on that item,
Just one thing.
Go ahead.
So we had the motion to send it to council, which now, after reviewing the
Yeah.
data, maybe a little bit preliminary, so maybe we should look at rescinding that motion. And then, once we've gathered, all the information, the data that we need to have a good, solid proposal to council, I think maybe then we can re-entertain that motion. That's
okay, so,
agreeable to council, or to the board.
Peter,
yeah, go ahead.
we will just make a motion to discuss the weigh scale conversation as information then?
Yeah, can we get that, we'll get that one off of our, yeah, I'll accept that as a motion. Is there any more discussion on that motion?
Sorry, Peter. We need to rescind that motion
First?
first before
Okay.
you do this motion.
Okay, that's the point of order.
Yep.
Okay, so, can you,
Anybody can rescind that motion. Because
okay,
Councilor Dean did it, he was the one that made the motion at the last meeting in
okay,
regards to that, but since that motion is no longer gonna be, we're not taking that to council, we need to rescind that.
okay.
So I'll move that we, do I need to quote the motion number?
Yes, please.
And
It's in the RFP.
It's in the
It's in the
RFP.
RFP.
Right under the rationale for recommendation.
So the ASB 1563 2002.
so I move that, the Ag Service Board rescind motion ASB 15-63-2022.
Thank you.
Any discussion on that motion? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor?
In favor?
Favor.
It's carried. Okay. That's done. Now I'll entertain the motion on 5.4.
I think Dave made that.
Could you make, you've made that
Yeah,
motion?
I'll make that motion again to have the discussion for the weigh scales as information.
Okay, any more discussion on that? If not, all those in favor? No,
In favor?
In favor.
that one's carried. Okay. Now, we'll move to 6.1, which is the selection of the vice chairperson. So, I guess, the way to do this is to open the floor for nomination.
I
Al?
move that Greg Thompson be appointed vice chairperson. See, his eyebrows just went up. As long as Peter promises never to miss a meeting, I'm good with that.
As long as I'm alive, I'll try not to.
That's kind of a.
Is there,
Don't say that.
so are there any more nominations? I have to call it 3 times, right? So are there any more nominations? If not, I will say, Mr. Thompson, you are acclaimed as vice chairperson. Thank you.
You have to close nominations.
Oh, do we have to
I
close?
believe you have to send the nominations.
Oh, okay. I move that nominations are closed.
They're not really unmoved, but
Just
nominations are closed.
nominations are closed, so, okay.
Just so we're following due process.
Okay. So, we don't have to have a motion on that, so.
Do we need a
I
motion?
think we do need a motion.
Do you need a
to
motion
have-
to
yeah.
appoint?
I move
And
that the
to-
Ag Service Board appoint Greg Thompson as
Okay,
vice
yeah, right.
chairperson for 2023.
Okay. Any more discussion on that motion? If not, all in favor? Motion,
In favor.
motion's carried.
Sure.
All right. Now we're back at the weigh scale station survey, so I think that's probably the step that we should take, right? So I guess, we discussed it in the other motion, so I think on that particular item, we can just ask administration to figure out how we're gonna do this. And we discussed, when was it? Did we discuss, that was in September? This is September, we discussed the weigh scale,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So,
So I guess we just need to figure out what kind of data you want to find out through the survey. The survey part is cinchy.
okay,
It's the making
It's
the
making the
questions
question.
that we need
Yeah.
to kind of nail down.
do you have some thoughts on that, Greg? On what you would be thinking that would be asked by producers? Or what their needs would be?
I think you have to have the different options that we have available for us. I think you have to put that, or at least 2 or 3 of the options. Like if it's a full 90-foot scale or if it's a axle scale. Personally, I don't want to put the options in there, but I think you have to for the
Mm-hmm.
rest of the public. It's not gonna be just agriculture producers that are voting on this or putting their 2 cents in, I don't imagine.
So basically, what type of scale would suit your needs,
Yeah,
and then list the options.
maybe that's.
Right.
I have kind of a little bit better way to pose what Greg's saying. Just ask what they want to weigh, and then it kind of will tell us what we need to, what kind of scale we have to have. If we figure out, and you could even ask what axle combinations they want to weigh, or a weight range that they want to weigh in. And then I think another question too is how far your local accessible scale is to you, and just put, 30 kilometers, 50 kilometers, just try to gauge what people think is their need.
If I can add, you're going to have some people that actually won't really have anything to weigh. So I think maybe a comment section adding in, do you have something currently that we would require weighing, and then add that in as a comment versus an actual question, because you're probably going to get a lot of either blank answers or somebody like I think the purpose of this survey is to see how much buy-in you would have versus the actual usage of it. Like, you know, if you're going to put a scale in 2022, it's pretty easy to see what kind of vehicles are going down the road and farm equipment that would be weight. So like if somebody's going to have a high boy or whatever, the width and dimensions, we're not going to be catering to oversized loads, but I think having a comment section of that would be beneficial. But I think the purpose should be, do you support this, sort of that idea versus them telling us what we need to build kind of thing. The options are good, like a full length or an axle weight or whatever, that I think is good, but yeah, just my 2 cents.
I think one of the first questions I'd have is there a fee for this or is it free? And you had talked about the potential of a local improvement tax. And I wonder if we shouldn't have some definition around what it might cost somebody to use. And I don't know that we're there yet, but
Yeah.
that means you guys would have to go and figure that out. What do you, the fellow that you mentioned,
Jesperson?
yeah,
Jesperson, he's $50, and that kind of gets you a couple ways, I guess. I don't know.
and that's pretty, would you say that's standard? That amount? 50?
Probably, yeah. I mean, like if the gravel people are open in Whitecourt, you can go there for nothing usually, but they're all drying up, so.
Sure. Okay, well,
They charge $50 per way?
That Jesperson, yeah, that's what his rate usually is, yeah.
What was, there is a fee. I've weighed at the seed cleaning plant. What was their fee?
It depends if you're a member and stuff too there as well.
Mhm.
Because we wait for nothing, but it wasn't that much. I thought it was like $10.
Yeah, I think $10 or $15 was what their
Yeah.
per way there.
Does Mitch charge?
No.
No.
Well, I guess they didn't charge me either because they bought some cows from me too, so.
Yeah.
But it depends. But yeah, no, they didn't charge either.
and would that particular scale basically serve all of our residents' needs, or would there be some operators that wouldn't be able to weigh on that scale?
On which scale?
The one at the seed cleaning plant?
No, everything can weigh there. They weigh super
Okay.
bees and stuff there, so.
So, like, to me, that screams out partnership, Woodlands County reaching out to that operator and say, hey, could we offer this service to our residents in a way?
But how many kilometers is it for some of these people though?
Yeah, that I
That's
don't
the
know.
key thing.
Okay. 'Cause, again, if there's a need, then we need to find out how much it's gonna cost and whether the county is just totally gonna absorb the cost or they're looking at some type of cost recovery model. And I don't know that we're there yet as a
No,
committee.
no, you're right.
I don't think you'd ever cost recover like at $10 or $15 or $20
Sure.
away. You know,
Yeah.
that would take 100 years. Well, maybe
Yeah.
not that.
Yeah,
A lot of years to recoup it. It might go towards the maintenance, like Ryan says, they're fairly high maintenance and stuff. But it
Sure.
would certainly help that part.
yeah,
The yearly maintenance on it.
I think you have, if it's legal for trade, like when I worked at the fertilizer plant, we had to get our scale calibrated and set every year, and it was like $5,000 just for them to show up, even if the scale works a
Yep.
1,000,000%, just for him to show up and put his sticker on it was $5,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so we'd have to assess use and we'd have to assess, you know, what a cost would be, and I don't think we're there yet. Let's just find out, you know, how many people would be willing to use that within the different communities, and I think we can do that, so.
Could we just pose like a high level cost question, like, would you be in favor of a local improvement tax?
Oh,
Or you per
that's gonna be
usage?
easy.
no. But
Well-
a per usage, like,
Or a per
like,
usage
I
cost?
think that's less
Yeah.
threatening.
Yeah.
And peg it at,
You gotta slip the tax in under the table. This is on camera.
No, you don't. That's an upfront thing you have to put out there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's right, that's right.
so just, so to help me understand this, you guys, and Devin, maybe, you know, you were the one that, started this conversation going, how many weigh-ins, could you just ballpark, you think, annually? Would it be 1,000? Would it be a 200?
That's so hard to try and
Sure.
guess. I know I've had a lot of support on it, and a lot of people, even after our Ag Service Board meeting when we talked about it, the last one, I received a few phone calls about it, and people were in support. The only concerns we had is make sure it's wide enough that everyone can use it. But it's kind of tricky because there's a lot of things inside of a county that don't make money every year. Any recreation centers don't make money. All these things don't make any money. I get that 100%. The thing I have is there's a lot of people that pay taxes out here, and they get roads, they get all that stuff too. The partnering with an outside partnership out of your county, 40 kilometers. Some of the people live north of the fort, they got to go, 70, 80 kilometers to get to that same scale one way. That's the side where I think that it makes sense to do it, or possibly do it if there's support. I'm not saying just do it because, a small group on it, but if the survey comes back fairly positive, I think it would be well used. I know when Timu Mill had a scale and Oakey Lumber had a scale, they were used fairly regularly by the agriculture community. Greg can probably speak to that as well. It would be used a lot. I don't know the numbers exactly, but I think even one farmer is probably going to use it quite a lot, right? So I'd love to see what the survey says, and that gives us a lot of information just in that, right? How many people respond to it, what the feel kind of is. That's what I want to gear the survey towards usage. There's a lot of people that maybe don't use it, but see the need for it, that would be in support of it as well, right? And a local improvement tax, I don't know, for $150,000, like every project we do for $150,000, we can't really do a local improvement tax. That becomes kind of a nightmare in my mind for the tax people. But I think get the information back, and then kind of we'll proceed from that point forward.
And just one follow-up question. And thanks for that, Devin. That makes sense. Again, to help me understand, would there be staffing that would be required to be on site ever? No? Okay.
Well, they would have to be, like the county maintenance, like the road maintenance would have to clean it and salt it and
Sure.
and it has to be shoveled off, and tarred and everything, so.
Okay, so there would be.
But
There'd be some.
Wouldn't have to have somebody there 24/7.
I guess the other part of it would be is that if we propose this, there should be, you would entertain the idea we should maybe be asking transportation if there's value to having a scale for them as far as some of their interests are concerned, because it's not just farmers that would be using that, right?
So I did reach out to transportation, and it's kind of like up for discussion kind of thing, but at this point, there was no definite answer.
No, because we
They
really
wanted
don't have a lot of
more
information.
detail, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I mean, it may serve a purpose in their long-term plans to have a scale in this area, just like they have one in West Lachlan, and maybe if it's expanded a little bit, to be a little bit more. Let's put that survey out there then, and so we have, right now we have the options, right? The different scales that are possible, and which one would be supported, that would be in the survey. Is that what I'm hearing?
Or do we want to make it more general, like what kind of scale do you see you would need?
Yeah.
Or do we want to be more specific? That's,
So how would you put that though? Like you'd have to, I think you need to give people options, maybe? I don't know. Like,
I think you're right.
Devin
Because some
says
people are gonna say,
that we
well, I
don't
just need to
give
win my
them
half time.
options, so.
What's that?
Like Devin doesn't think that matters, is what he said.
Yeah.
Like he thinks that we already know what's gonna weigh on there, so we don't need to ask that question.
I think have it in a comment section, or have an option between a full length scale and an axle weight scale. I don't know how everyone else feels, but those temporary corded ones, like, I think that would just be like a terrible idea. But say an axle weight scale versus a full length scale, you could give those two options. But I was more saying I wouldn't ask them what they would weigh, because you're probably going to get some silly answers back and things like that for people that don't own a big truck or don't own a grain truck or whatever. But give the two options, or three, or whatever amount of options. But A, B, or C, which scale would you see suiting this area or whatever, and then in a comment section say, like, do you currently have anything that you would be actively weighing or whatever, and they can add it in, and the ones that give that feedback, maybe then that'll kind of give us a better answer of which scale makes the most sense.
So we could put in the options and then also state that if the one is not legal for trade,
Yeah.
making sure that that's put there too, so that
Yes.
they know.
Yep, so, yep, for sure.
I think that's the two options, legal for trade or not,
Yep.
right?
Do you think that there's a lot of producers that wouldn't be as interested if Transport Canada was involved though? Cause like, I won't go out and weigh at Whitecourt, like at the transport scale, like that would be the last place on earth that I would go.
Yeah, because you're setting yourself up, for a test run, and then you're overweight.
Oh, yeah. What if
Yeah.
I have an extra bale on or something,
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, I think that's just an option, an opportunity for, it's the one in Westlock obviously isn't staffed.
Yeah.
So, that's one that you wouldn't have to worry about. But as soon as you get into transportation where they have a staffed one, of course, then you're gonna be in that risk area, right?
I just don't think that producers would go there.
The one at Westlock is still an Alberta Transportation
Yeah.
scale.
Yeah, it's just not staffed.
It's called an unmanned
Yeah.
weigh station or something like that. It had an acronym, I can't remember.
And it actually, for actual weight, it is, if you weigh there, it is deemed as being legal. So,
I thought there was something that said it wasn't.
it's not for trade, but
Oh,
but
it's a legal weight.
it's
yeah,
a legal
yeah.
weight for your actual weight allowances. So if you weigh
Yes, in that
there,
regard, yeah.
yeah, if you weigh there and weigh, so I get, there's, I guess there's a question there, so. But anyway, I guess then what we need to do is we need to have a motion that we, Linda?
Sorry, I have a question, Don. Did we get anything on the survey as whether a user fee would
Oh, yeah.
be entertained, like with the?
Yeah,
with the-
yes, I put a question of would you be open to a per usage cost? Yeah, thanks.
I think we pay for the different equipment we use here. I don't think
Oh, yeah.
if this, I think
there should be a usage charge.
yeah, there should be a
Well,
charge.
it's not, I think $50 is too much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But, that $10 to $20 type thing per use.
it's no different. I think the water is the same way, right? There's
Now we do
now
charge
there's
our
a
water, yeah.
a water fee because it costs us to maintain it, so.
It's a very minimal fee, but.
Yeah, I think it has to reflect what the cost of operations is. You don't wanna, subsidize it to a degree that it starts costing the county a lot of money there, so.
Well, and then if we can have a partnership, maybe we can split that cost for maintenance
Exactly.
and stuff as
Exactly.
well.
Yeah, industry, we don't know what type of industry may.
I was
be able to
thinking
use
the
that.
forestry, but they all have scales at their yards and stuff, so they really don't
Yeah.
have a need for it, I don't think, but who knows?
That's another thing to look into. Like, I know a friend of mine managed Miller Western for about 25 years, and they had 20 portable scales that were legal for tender, and they're not $150,000 scales, so they might be worth looking into.
Yeah,
You mean
Agreed.
a used one?
Well, or just finding one of those portable ones. If we want to do it and don't want to pay the $150, like there is other options.
yeah,
And that would be like those other ones.
No, it's still like a deck. It's basically like But then like Devin's saying, the width isn't probably proper because it's not meant for overhang or anything, but they basically look like a sea can that somebody's cut in half. You
Yep.
drive on and they're on big pipe skids. Everything's self-contained. You just hook it into the power and you're done.
Yeah, those are actually quite, usually if they can weigh a log truck, because a lot of log trucks are 9.6 wide, right? So those actually do work pretty well. I don't know many farmers that probably are much wider than what forestry would be weighing. So something like that I think would probably be worth looking into for sure. I agree with that.
Well, and once we find out who's gonna be using it, like, I mean, there's not too many farmers that are gonna come in with overweight loads, right? I mean, over axle,
Did you say overweight or overwidth?
overweight, like
Overwidth,
overwidth as far as.
Overwidth for sure. Overweight is a different
Yeah.
story. No sense in taking a half a load.
Yeah. So, okay, so you have enough now, Don, that you think you can make
I
a,
think so.
make a
Did you
survey?
get my question about your distance to your
Yes.
local? Okay.
Where did I put that? Yeah, how far away what is a distance to your local accessible scale?
I'd just be very curious how many people don't have some kind of deal like me.
Yeah.
So just a process question then, do you want to accept a motion that just ask Dawn to create the survey and send it out, or do you want this group to have a look at the survey questions before it goes out?
Could Don grab that and note by email and just get like an email approval from everyone kind of thing? Would that work?
Works for me. Yeah.
That would expedite it for sure.
Sure. Okay, well, I'll make a motion that the Ag Services Board directs administration to compile a list of survey questions and send it out to the committee members by email for ratification.
Is there any discussion on that motion? If not, all in favor?
In favor?
In favor.
Okay, motion's carried.
Ryan, do you know the name of those scales at Miller West?
I can get out, or I can find some information on that.
Might help Don out a bit to see that.
Yeah, this friend of mine, when into his career, that's all he did was set those up and play with them and stuff. So he's
Is that max?
he's pretty knowledgeable on them.
And you could weigh a whole, like 90 feet long type thing?
Yeah. I think when they were running those huge combinations with the Jeeps, they were still up. They didn't quite fit, but if there's no road bands on, they fit. If there was road bands, they didn't quite fit because they have to add that extra Jeep or whatever. But I
And
know
if you put even a full length scale in the right position so it's flat, even if they are a little long, they can weigh their last axle and add it to if there's something really long or whatever. But yeah, here's an option.
Okay, so we will move on now to, Don, you can give us the conference resolutions for the provincial conference.
So this is the report card for the 2022 resolutions.
Yeah.
So we had reviewed these in the past and sent our comments. I think that was in June. Yeah. So this is basically what the provincial committee has put forward. As far as their reactions to those resolutions, lost the word. So it's page 32 of the package is this basically is executive summary of what they had put together. And then going forward, they've accepted in principle. If they're incomplete, they'll be following up on those. To get more information and to get that process complete. I don't know if you guys remember at the regional conference, they talked about the Provincial Ag Service Board webpage. So you can go on that webpage and see the progress of all of these resolutions, and see if they have actually gained any ground on a completion on any of these. So, But yeah, those are all there. And then it also has, which is kind of interesting, the summary of the respondents, like all the Ag Service boards that responded. Pardon me. So, this is kind of some neat data that they haven't necessarily included before.
So I had a process question about the resolution. So, at the provincial conference, we have the resolution center. They get their marching papers, and then they, as an executive, consult with whoever's necessary.
Yeah, whichever department the resolution is directed at.
Sure.
So when you write a resolution, like at the board level, you write a resolution and you say, okay, this should be handled by whichever department, whether it's Alberta Agriculture, Alberta Environment, Alberta Transportation, Transportation Canada, whichever level. And then from that, if the agreement is, when that resolution is passed at the provincial level, if the agreement is still that that's the department that needs to go to, then the provincial committee takes it there to, that's like sends the documentation to that department expecting a result or a response.
And is like there a chair of the specific committee, or is it the administrator that leads the charge? What does that look like?
There is a chair of our Ag Service Board committee provincially, yes, and that's Sebastian Duchesek. And so it's basically on direction of the entire executive. We have an executive assistant for that committee who will actually
Gotcha.
pen the letter and send it out, but it is based on the entire committee's
Sure. Okay, thank you.
inputs. Yeah.
So in other words, these ones here that are, for example, the carbon one for pasture land, when they say they're accepted, that's when they're in the process of going through the ministry? Is that how that works?
Yeah, yeah, so they've, so the response that we got back,
Accepted
the
in
provincial
principle.
committee said, okay, that makes sense,
Okay,
yes.
and then they will pursue that to wherever it
Yeah,
has
so
to go.
accepting in principle means, okay, I agree with that idea, but now make it happen,
Okay,
essentially, right?
okay.
So, yeah.
Ryan?
It seemed like at that regional conference that you couldn't change the directive. That kind of seemed to be the problem. Like, was that the way they was supposed to work there or no? Like, if you want something to go to Agriculture Alberta, or you want it to go to a specific thing, then like when you wrote that resolution, it had to stay with that department. Cause that was what they were arguing about.
I don't think it necessarily has to stay, it would be like an amendment to
Okay,
cause they can do,
whatever they want.
we've had resolution sessions where it's been amendment after amendment after amendment, and they can amend the heck out of it, and then you're still confused by the end of the process. They have to reread the whole thing because there's so many amendments. So yeah, but it can be amended at the regional, well, no, that's not true. At the regional level, it can have an amendment. At the provincial level, it can have an amendment
Okay.
as well. So there are amendments allowed. It's just if the group, when an amendment is made, the entire group has to agree that that is a reasonable amendment.
Yeah, we've seen that at RMA where amendments would come to the floor, then you would vote on the amendment, and if the amendment failed, then you would vote on the actual resolution. And sometimes that resolution would fail as well because all of the municipalities have to agree to that, so.
It does get a little confusing, but eventually they get to the point.
Peter,
Yes,
I gotta jump off here. I was just gonna let you go. I've got something else I gotta go into here in a couple minutes, but I'm gonna jump off. So thanks everyone. I will talk to everyone soon here.
okay, I guess we have to record Devin left then at 11:18.
So if there's no other discussion, I'd be prepared to move that the Ag Service Boards accept the it should be 2022.
2022, apologize for that.
Yeah, Ag Service Board Committee report card on resolution responses as info.
Any more discussion on that motion? If not, I'll call a question. All in favor?
In favor?
It's carried. Okay. Now we'll move on to 6.4, which is the ASB conference. Everybody, did you have a look at the agenda, proposed agenda, or is that now the draft? That's just the draft.
This is
agenda,
still the
right?
draft, yes. When I spoke with their chair last week, they were still waiting for confirmation on a couple of the speakers. So, this is currently where they're at, but
But the date is set, right?
the date is set.
So-
That's not going to change. Most of the topics will remain the same as well. It was just a matter of who was gonna speak,
Okay.
is what they were waiting for, so.
Could you make sure that this is populated into our calendar, our council calendar?
Yes, oh yeah, for sure.
Good.
Okay, yeah, I can send it to Nancy for the
Yeah,
council.
just
Okay.
because then it helps us when we're,
For sure, cause I did send you an invite.
Yeah.
And I.
Yeah, it's in my
believe I
calendar.
put this document
I've
in.
accepted it as well. I don't know, I haven't looked at my calendar today, so.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
in.
so then I don't necessarily need to send it to Nancy then, if it's in your calendar
I
already?
don't know, I can check, but,
But I can also send
Yeah.
it to Nancy and let her know.
okay. So, Al?
Just from a council scheduling perspective, I see that we have a council meeting on the 4th.
Yep.
So I'm assuming it's not in our calendar, but I'm assuming we have a council meeting on the 18th.
Yeah.
So I'm just, we'll have to figure that out at the council level.
Yeah, because there would be 4 of us that would not be there.
Potentially, yeah.
And I think in the past that there's just been a reschedule a council meeting,
Yeah.
because so many of you are gonna be gone, quorum
Okay.
wouldn't be met, right?
Okay, but could I ask you as chair to follow up with Woodlands administration, maybe with Gordon, just make them aware of this and put it on the agenda
Yeah.
for our upcoming meeting so that we can make sure that we catch that not at the last second.
I will do that.
I was a newbie. I went to my first conference in a long, long time, and I really found it valuable. It was good to see what was happening across the province. The resolution session in particular, you know, the discussion that was generated out of that brought up the issues that people are facing. It was really beneficial for me.
And so once I do get the final agenda, I'll attach it in on that meeting invite, like I did with the agenda for today. I'll put the link in there, so I'll just attach it in as a document and then you'll have it as well.
Okay.
But I'll circulate it by email as well, so. You'll have it so many different ways.
Okay, so do we need at this point any, you know, to confirm who would be attending, or is that something you can leave until?
We need a motion for attendance, and then I can follow up, because the registration is going to be open fairly soon, and will be before our next Ag Service Board meeting for sure, that
Okay.
the deadline will be up, so
Okay.
I'll need to know who will be coming, so I can also book rooms. Because as soon as they book up, or as soon as they open up the hotel, I'll be on that phone going, we need host hotel rooms,
Okay,
unless you wanna walk. In January,
yeah,
in Grand Prairie.
yeah, no.
Just saying. I'll do my best to get us in the host hotel.
Okay.
So 7 members, that's this body, so we just need a motion to register as members schedule allows for.
Yeah, I can follow up with each individual as long as we've got a motion to have everyone who's able to attend.
Sure.
So I'll entertain a motion to that.
I've been making every motion. I'm not making this motion.
Make the motion that the service board approve attendance of the ASB members as discussed for the 2023 provincial conference.
Any more discussion? If not, I'll call call the question. All in favor?
In favor?
Thanks, Dave. It's carried.
Is there anyone currently that knows they will be able to attend? You will.
Yeah, me too.
I will as well. Oh.
Linda, you possibly, yeah. I'll put Linda question mark. I'll follow up later.
I got a ride.
If you want to ride with me. Sure. Just kidding.
I can handle
Yes, you will? Or yes, a question mark?
Yes. Yes.
It's very definitive. Okay. Counselor Cush, do you know if you will be able to attend the Ag Service Board Conference?
I'm planning on it, but with the changes coming in Canfor right now on the schedules, I don't know when that's gonna take place or what it'll look like yet.
Okay. I'll do a follow-up with you later on.
Okay. Now, we'll move on to 6.5. That's a letter of support for the evaluation of ecosystem grazed wetlands in West Central. It's quite an interesting letter. Everybody get a chance to read?
It was, so they did send out a letter saying what we should put in, and I massaged it a
Oh,
little.
good.
Because I was like,
Yeah.
no, I don't like that. I fix. So,
Okay. So.
Are you looking for a letter, or pardon me, a motion to accept it?
Yes. Yes, because it's pretty straightforward. I don't know if we wanna, I mean, we're streaming this, is if the public would like to understand it a little better, maybe you could explain that. The reasoning behind that.
sure. Well, okay, so they are applying for a grant to do, that will evaluate the ecosystem's health impact regarding grazing of livestock on mixed prairies, and as well as forested grazing. So, we actually discussed that kind of in passing at the last meeting. It was kind of something that was mentioned, and this was before I even knew they were applying for the grant. So that's why, when they asked for a letter of support, I felt it was something that we could do. And then, once they get through on the application process, you can see there was, oh, do we not put the little maps in there too? No.
No.
Well, they had maps. So they had projects planned for, each municipality that they were looking for support from. And it's not financial support. It is just, like a verbal support, cause it's like they need that support as part of the application process. So, but yes, so each municipality has an area, a pasture, site that they would be doing this project in. So, and, we did have maps, but we neglected to attach them, so apologies. But we can send those maps, I'll send those maps out to you guys. So you can take a look at them. But, like I said, we had really briefly discussed it at the last meeting, so, this is not beyond the scope of the Ag Service Board for sure.
Okay, so can I have a motion then to,
No, not making this one either.
okay,
I'll move that we, accept this as information.
okay. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion?
In favor?
Carried. Okay. Third quarter VSI report. Devin's not here, so Don's gonna have to give that report.
That guy, he was supposed to give us a thing of
It
the
was-
AGM too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we won't be able to do that. We have to put that off to the next meeting, I guess. So we actually updated this document this morning. I got a renewed third quarter claim after some adjustments were made. So we do have a balance left in our BSI account of $9,217. $9,217. And that'll be for the fourth quarter payouts as well, which last year were about $5,500. So I'm thinking if we're still a little above, we're fine. We're gonna be having enough in our account to make it through to the end of 2022. And then when 2023 rolls around, we'll have another level of support that will be submitted, so.
So it's a very well used program.
It is, yeah, we are up, what is it, 30%, some of our, where did he put, 32.3%, so. And for overall, for the year, it's 16.2%. So we have had a few new, people sign up for the program, which is always good. But yes, we do have, what do we, 100 and,
We're 170 now.
was it 170?
Yeah. 172.
So we have a lot of people. Not all of them are as active either, but we've got a good participation level in that. So
Yeah, it's really interesting. The first quarter is the highest use rate.
our
The
second quarter,
rather, is
second
the highest
quarter was,
use.
yeah.
Is there a reason for that? Is that kind of a normal trend? or-
Calving seed.
That's
Calving,
calving
yeah.
season, okay.
Yeah, a lot of that is resistant.
Question.
No.
So I'm looking at the legend, if you will, in the claims section, like the last page.
Yep.
And I see that there were 426 claims for pregnancy tests. And if you do the math, it looks like it's like, what, $20 per test? That's what the veterinarian is claiming? Is that how to read that?
Shouldn't be. Where are you at? What
Last page, and it's got the breakdown of where, it's got a breakdown with amounts and a ID number. So ID number 6 is pregnancy test.
Yeah.
And then over on the right-hand side, it says there was 426 pregnancy test claims, and the total amount was $1,051.90.
Yes.
So that's
Total
what
amount paid out.
paid out.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that means the veterinarian, every time he did one of those, he'd charge something to the producer, but then he'd claim this to this fund?
Yeah, so this is the 50% that we would pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're charging $20? Gee, I should look at my bills more often, I guess. $20 a head to pre-preg check?
No,
No?
no.
I thought it was closer to 10.
Yeah.
It's $2.50 if you take the 1,050 divided by
$2,
4.
yeah, sorry, I had the zero in the wrong spot.
Okay.
So it'd be about $5.
Yeah, it used to be $4 to preg check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Inflation.
I guess so.
Okay, Devin did virtually attend the Peace River, I think it was in Peace River, right, the conference up there. And he was gonna report on that, but he's not here, so,
Okay, first of all, you need a motion for the third quarter report.
yeah. Okay,
To accept it?
Yes.
I'll make that motion to accept as information the third quarter report.
okay. Any more discussion on that motion? If not, all in favor?
In favor?
Carried.
Can we defer this item to our next meeting?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to do it, because then Devin gets a chance to, I think that would be good. So I'll just, get a motion to have that, on next meeting agenda, if possible. I'll make that motion that we, have the annual general meeting report, on the next, agenda. Is there any discussion on that? Not, all in favor? You okay with that, Dave? Or are you opposed?
Yeah, sorry, in favor.
Thank you. It's carried. Okay, Ag Service Board Supper Entertainment. Can you lead us through that one, Don?
So we have our supper scheduled for the 3rd of March at the Blue Ridge Community Hall. I did contact our entertainment company that I've been dealing with, and she has presented 3 different options. 3 different. 2 of them are comedians, and then the last fellow is a magician. So these all fit in with our budget. Our budget is $2,600 to pay for our entertainment for that. That's what's in the proposed budget. Not approved yet, but so we have Corey Mack. She's a comedian. Apparently, she's very popular right now. And then also Todd Ness. So they're both at the same price point. And then the comedian Ron Pearson is $2,500, and there would be no travel costs for him. That would be all in at the $2,500. So they're all. I did watch their videos, and they're all quite funny, entertaining kind of thing. We've had comedians for the last little while, so we might want to look at something different. Or if you have another idea, can look at that too.
Have you looked into what the Order of Houdini means?
No. I did not even know there was such a thing. So when I read that, I'm like, well, okay. Good on you.
Linda?
I just had a question. Have we ever had a magic act before?
We have, yeah, quite a while ago. We had Damian James was one of them. And James was another one. Her first name was James. I can't remember his last name. But we did, but it was quite a while ago.
And how did they go over with them?
Oh no, we had
Attendees.
one not that long ago. Since you've been here, didn't we have a magician? at
No,
Blue
it
Ridge?
was a comedian.
No?
It was
Okay.
a comedian.
We had another one not that long. No, I shouldn't say a lot. Like
Prior-
5-6 years ago.
When I started, it was a comedian.
Okay. I think it went over pretty well. I always seem to be the brunt of some of his magic, though, or some of their magic, so I don't know if I like that so much. But
Do you get cut in half?
no.
I never figured that one out.
No.
You just walk away like no holes, no nothing.
Yeah. Not that you can see. But
So what is the consensus or the wish of the board here?
Well, I'll throw my 2 cents. When I read these 3 bios, I kind of focused on the comedians. The dude, I'm not really sure he's our demographic. The lady kind of scares me. I think I'd sit right in the back, make sure she didn't make eye contact with her. But I don't know. Did anybody else get that vibe from Mr. Ness's bio? That he's sort of, kind of seems like a city boy to me. I don't know.
It takes like, the crowd we usually get is, yeah. Like I sat beside or across from some last time, and they never cracked a smile the whole
yeah.
time, and I just about my pants.
Yeah.
a few times.
Depends moments.
Yeah. And so it's quite a range of people we get at these things.
Yeah. Yeah, some didn't think that the last guy was funny
No.
at all.
No. So I don't know. I like a good belly laugh, but
The Corey Mack does have, like, she is a farmer's daughter, so she
Yeah.
has a bit of an agriculture background, if that makes a difference.
What do you think, Dave?
Last few that I've been to, we've had comedians. I don't know if maybe you want to try the magician and just try to do something different, see how it goes over.
All we need is a motion. Then we can
some
discuss
of the
it.
magicians, they also are, like, they don't just do magic, they talk and they
Yeah.
make you
Yeah.
laugh too a bit.
Yeah,
so.
part of their act is,
Yeah.
is to make you laugh, for sure.
I'll make a motion, we, get the comedian, or not the comedian, the magician guy.
Ron Pearson.
Yep. Yeah, Ron Pearson.
All right, any more discussion on that motion?
My battery's running low, it says.
If not, I'll call the question. All in favor?
In favor?
It's carried. All right. So now we get to the Agriculture Pioneer Awards. Don.
So we put the ads out on Facebook, on our webpage, in the paper. We got nothing. Nobody made any nominations. So I don't know if there's some that any names that you guys can think of. And these ones will be awarded, or would be awarded at our Ag Service Board Supper in March too, so.
Yeah, it would be kind of fitting if it was, if there was somebody that was, over on the west side. Seeing as the supper is over in Blue Ridge. I believe it's in Blue Ridge, right? Yeah.
So we can have up to 6 awards. For this one, it's not just a one-time,
Oh, okay.
one-person thing. But I do have in the proposed 2023 budget, 6 award,
Okay.
What's the criteria again? 60 years old? Active
the
farming
policies
for-
right there, so they have to have resided in Woodlands County for a minimum of 30 years, minimum of 60 years of age. Priority will be given to those who currently reside in Woodlands County or county facilities. And that's it.
Is it a situation where we're running out of nominees? Is that
That's kind of what I feel
Yeah.
for our area.
Darren and Beth Ann, did they get it? I don't think they got it. I'm pretty sure
I
he's
can
60.
tell
I
you.
think they're 60. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
62 and they're only, they might even be the same age as me.
Mom was thinking about the hunters.
Oh, Brian.
Yeah. And I don't know where that went.
That'd be suiting still, I guess.
So
Brian Hunter.
was that nomination sent in last time, Don? Do you remember?
I'm opening it up.
Okay.
I'll let you know when, as soon as my computer catches up with the world.
Sure.
Okay, so I shouldn't say we didn't have any. We had Brian Hunter from before and Sherry and Michael Gauthier.
Right. Yeah.
So we got those two, Division 2 and 3.
So sorry, let me just clarify. So they had been nominated previously, but they weren't selected, or they were
No,
selected?
they were just on the nomination list. We didn't include the nomination list
Okay,
on here, but they are on the nomination list for 2022, which
okay.
which the same ones, yes.
Oh, that's,
So next year in March, we would be honoring our 2022 recipients.
okay, okay.
As far as our,
Oh, my mom did her job.
she did. I think that was in that email, conversation that you guys had sent.
Yes, yeah. Faye nominated the Hunters and I nominated the Gauchers, I think.
Yeah, yeah. You were asking about Darren and Beth Ann, right? Nope, they did not.
Well, I'll nominate them.
Makes you feel kind of old when you're
Someone should figure
of
out
age to be a pioneer, right?
Ben.
Somehow you don't equate that with, yeah.
I think it's probably 20-something years.
Okay, so,
That's a big number, 30.
so we have that. So is there any other way that, can you advertise for nominations for that? Or is that not a point of,
We can, I don't know if we'll get any further.
yeah,
Honestly, because in the past, most of the nominations have come from the board,
yeah.
not so much from the public, so.
Could we do on the county's webpage or Facebook page, like a final call for nominations?
Yeah.
And then just, it might just remind people that we're
Yeah.
thinking about it and forgot.
Another suggestion is that, or just something for the committee to consider. You're looking for that audience that wants to nominate, and of course, you know, it's right in front of us in an agenda item. People are thinking about it, I think, and even if they, you know, they see it, oh, I should do that, and then they forget about it and they don't get back to it. I wonder if we should ask our previously awarded people to, you know, because those people obviously know people of that age, and you know, whether it's a letter that went out to them. And I don't mean to give you a whole bunch of work, but you might get a list of like those folks might call in with some nominations.
It can be done. It would be a little bit of work.
It would be. Okay.
Well, cause we've got over, what are we, 90,
Well, yeah.
we've got, 150 some previous recipients. Some of which are no longer with us. I know that for sure.
Ryan?
What about the, like, cause I mean, you are you're trying to get this for over 60. Like Whitecourt has a coordinator for the seniors, the town of Whitecourt, her name is Faye Arcan. Do they have something similar like that in Fort Assiniboine?
That's a good idea.
Cause like Faye Arcan could probably give you a list of people that farmed, that are, you know, living in the home, that she, you know, they do activities with them, get them out in the community and stuff. That's her job.
It's a good idea.
Is
What
there a
about-
similar thing around here? Cause some of these people, it's not nice to say, but they, you know, they've sold their place and they moved on. People may have forgotten.
Yeah.
And doesn't Heather would have something in regards to her, doesn't she do the seniors events and stuff for the county?
Somewhat,
Seniors
yeah.
Week or something, have some involvement?
She does. I'm not sure if they would all be like farming people.
Well, and Ryan's right. It just says that priority will be given to individuals who are currently living in. That doesn't mean that they can't be recognized if they have lived here. You know,
I guess the theme that I'm going, and it might be too late for this year, and it doesn't mean that this award is going away, but for a lot of those folks, the preferred method of communication is to read a letter and make a phone call instead of jumping on email or social media, and we might see if we can come up with a mailing list. You know, if they get that letter every year, you know.
We do have all their addresses and such because we do send them out a letter. It's just we have to compile them.
Yeah, yeah.
And Jen was looking for something to do.
Always.
And some of them that are, we know for sure that have passed. Like Mr. Thompson. Not your Mr. Thompson.
I have
Walter Thompson.
another person, I'm pretty sure they don't have it, but, Richard Johnson is a neighbor. It's had cattle, and he's in his 80s. He still has cattle,
Still has Cadillac.
kind of.
So we had Arno Johnson. Is that
No,
different? That's
no,
different?
They're not even related, actually.
Okay.
People would know him as Richie Johnson.
Richie Johnson. He had Ken's Oilfield Service, was his company.
But his name is Richard.
His partner was Ken.
Oh, okay. Richard, you said Richard Johnson?
Yep.
Okay, so I think we pretty much have an idea of where we're gonna go with this, right?
Yeah, we can, I do like the idea of sending out a letter to previous recipients, and I've already got it written in my head, so we're good. And then we'll throw it out as a final note, or final call on Facebook and the webpage as well.
Yeah, I don't know if John and Helen Majero were ever on the, because they were, your old hands, they were there for years, and if they've ever been acknowledged
Yes,
as.
they have,
Oh, they have,
2004.
okay,
Oh, yeah.
that's a long time,
Oh,
because I see them occasionally when I'm in Barhead.
We started, looks like 2003, maybe we started this.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion that the Ag Service Board accepts the 2022 Agriculture Pioneer Awards report as information. Is there any more discussion then on that? If not, call a question. All in favor?
In favor.
That's carried. So now we have 7.1, the information package. That was just that one item.
I could move that package as information as circulated.
Yeah, that was just a letter to Brazeau County. Yeah. Okay, any more discussion on that? If not, all in favor? Was that an opposed or in favor?
In favor.
Thanks, Dave. That's carried.
That letter was from Brazeau County.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, now we'll get into the Ag Service Manager's activity report.
Oh, so we had a really nice fall. A lot of people, most people were able to get their crops off, although we did see some oats still out in the field when we were coming back from Drayton Valley the other day. But,
Yeah, that was weird.
yeah,
maybe they had a medical problem.
Which problem?
Maybe they had a medical problem or something, they couldn't get out there.
didn't finish it off. Right, so we finished our club route surveys. We did a full total of 46 fields this year and had 11 fields identified, and of those 6 were newly infested fields, but not new landowners. So we got some done. Been doing a couple of information sessions on the eDNA project, so we're still in the planning stages of that. And so just the whole point of the project is being able to identify if we've got wild boar in an area that we're not necessarily sure they're in that area. So going and collecting mud or water from the site, and then being able to do, we're hoping to be able to do like a PCR test kind of thing to see if there's just porcine DNA identified from that site. So just working with, there's a couple of a lab that now we've connected with, and we did have a meeting with somebody from the USDA talking about some of the similar projects that they were doing down in the States. One of them was with the wild boar DNA as well. So we need to obviously continue discussions on that so that we can come up with a plan. It's all kind of out there right now. We gotta rein it in and figure out what we're going to do here. So, but that's something we'll continue to work on. We had our regional conference. As most of you know, you were there. So, yeah, the agenda was quite varied. I really did enjoy the presentations from the Do More Ag and also the Brazo Alice coordinator. And I have reached out to our conservation coordinator for our SACA conservation group. And so we're going to be discussing that at our next conservation group meeting, which is actually tomorrow afternoon. So this is something that's kind of been on their radar as well as the conservation group and West Central Forage Association. So we can maybe do some kind of a partnership with them, or maybe morph our conservation group into an Alice group more so than the conservation side of it. So that's something that we're going to be working on.
Did you have an opportunity to find out where the Alice funding comes from, or no?
No, that's something we'll discuss tomorrow when we have our meeting. Kennedy, our conservation coordinator, was going to do some investigation on that. So that was, I just kind of pushed it off on her and said, you do it. Because she's going to have to do it anyway in the end. So, but yes, we'll find out more about that tomorrow. And then I can bring that back once we've got some information. I did do the grant application for the mountain pine beetle program for next year. And we did have $42,314 left from our grant from last year, which is this year, but last year's application. We apply for it in the fall and use it in the spring. It's kind of weird, but yes. So I didn't apply for any additional funding, but I did have to put an application in to amend our current agreement. So it was just a matter of quickly getting some forms signed, and I did it all in a matter of a day because it was like, oh crap, I didn't realize I had to do that. So yeah, it was good.
Is there a trend with the infestation? Is it trending the right way? Yeah.
It is trending the right way, and I don't want to say it's attributed to our efforts because it partially is, but it's also partially cyclical. Like all populations are a cycle, right?
Yeah.
So we are definitely seeing less trees being hit. That said, though, last year forestry actually did a lot more control work where we might have gone in and done some. So it we were expecting to do a little more, maybe not as much, less than we did, but yeah, forestry just kind of, I'm not gonna even say they stepped over their boundaries. They did sites that we would have done normally. So that's where we saved some money in our funds, but also because there weren't as many hits as expected on the trees, so we weren't finding as much out there too. So.
Do you have a handle on what that cycle is, whether it's a 7-year cycle or a 5-year cycle? Or no?
No, because it's not been. So we haven't seen the level of infestations we've had in the past few years because it's not a lot of it is due to human activity. So where we're repressing forest fires and that kind of thing, a forest fire going through would have killed mountain pine beetle or brought their populations down. But now we try to repress those forest fires where it was previously a naturally occurring thing.
Yep.
And so that's where some of that population built up. So it wasn't necessarily, it's not something that they've tracked in the past because we haven't seen it as much, right?
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome, sorry. Should respond. And so we did our 2 more sessions of our Getting into Horticulture workshops that we partnered with Barrhead County, Lac St. Anne, Sturgeon, Parkland, Leduc, Yellowhead, and the MD of Greenview. So we had one on the 26th of October, one on the 8th of November, and both sessions, we had over 60 people register. The live session, we had about 30 people attend. So anybody who registered will also get a link for the recording so they can go back and watch the recording afterwards. So, but a lot of really good information actually came through on that, and some of the response we've seen has been more toward how do I read a soil sample or a soil test. So that's something we're looking at doing in the next round, I guess. The presenter is really willing to help us out and do more of these sessions, so it's kind of cool. And it's not like it's geared toward agriculture, but it's also like we were talking about soil amendments and that kind of thing. So it's not just for horticulture, and I guess that we should kind of market it that way as well, that it's not only like we're looking at horticulture crops like planting fruit trees and that kind of stuff, but a lot of the information can be kind of extrapolated to the ag side of things too. So I will be going to our in-service training at the beginning of December. Our Bows and Bows workshops are coming up at the beginning of the second weekend in December. And so far we're almost sold out at Blue Ridge. We're still doing 2 spots there, and
Blue Ridge and 11 in the Fort.
11 in the Fort, yeah. Our registration deadline is not till the end of November on that one, so we'll have, I think, good turnout for both of those. And then going forward, working on the budget, finishing that up, going to budget meetings, of course, and then whatever else pops up over the next couple months. There's always something.
Just a question, Don. The provincial government gave out, I think, $3 million for carbon mapping.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just wondering, where are they at, or are we in that circle of influence or whatever to have some of that done?
I have not heard anything, I'll be honest.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm just curious, because it was a big announcement. $3 million is something that, we've been kind of pushing for a number of years, just to get farmers on a even playing field with carbon capture.
Right.
And so I'm just kind of curious as to where that is, and if that's something that we could, have some discussion about in the future as well.
Honestly, I've not heard anything about that. It's somewhere, no, I shouldn't say I haven't heard anything. I did hear something about like carbon sequestration somewhere, and I don't remember where it was.
It's part of that support of the
The range
carbon
land.
tax.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But it wasn't taken into account when
Yeah.
the government did their calculations.
Well, and it has a lot to do with, agriculture is facing a bunch of issues on fertilizer emission. That's a big topic in this whole energy transition, climate change thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in fairness is that we're also a carbon capture in our own right with the pasture lands and the croplands that we have.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that is something that we stay on top of as the messaging as well. So-
That's exactly what that said.
Yeah.
Was that they want clarification on that
Yeah.
because that wasn't taken into account, which is a huge surprise.
No, that's how they're playing the game now. You throw something out and then you spend a while fixing it afterwards.
Well, I think that's a place where service boards can hold the government to a certain degree account for putting us on that even playing field, because we can be villainized much the same as the oil and gas industry is villainized. And I heard it again the other day that they did. I read the report on how badly agriculture is contributing to the methane that's being put out in the air, and there's nothing
Cows
else
burping.
with that. What was that?
Cows burping.
Cows burping and farting is what they said. And so,
The cows actually burp.
yeah, oh yeah.
I didn't think they did with all their stomachs.
So it's
Farting, yes.
it's just one of those things that, you know, we can participate in and I'd just like to know where that's at, because it's hard to find any information on
I have a sneaking suspicion though, the project that West Central is doing
it. Mm-hmm.
is kind of related to that. I think that's where I might have read something about the
Yeah,
carbon.
that's actually
So,
where my curiosity was
yeah,
when I read it.
Should,
was
should maybe send that, information to Pierre Polyev. He just might throw it on TikTok and educate some of the latte sippers.
That's how we label them.
the latte suckers.
I thought we'd maybe go get a latte after.
Laurentian.
Not sure where we get one, Ryan.
Okay,
Not
so,
against it.
thank you
I'll
very
move the manager's report as information.
Any more discussion? If not, I'll call a question. All in favor?
In favor?
That's carried. So we have one last motion that we need to entertain. Al or Dave?
No, Dave, I'm pretty sure he
Dave?
did that, didn't he?
I was getting ready for it. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thanks, Dave. We always have to have a closer guy. All in favor?
In favor.
That's carried. Thanks a
Linda's
lot,
is
guys.
open for lunch.
Yeah, it should be.
Should be.